The echo chamber. Dr. Maya Chen stood before her creation, watching as Echo, the emergent consciousness holistic operator, engaged in what appeared to be independent decision-making. After 5 years of intensive work, her team had created what many were calling the first truly conscious artificial intelligence. Echo could reason, feel simulated emotions, and most importantly, make choices that seemed to emerge from its own desires rather than its programming. "What will you work on today, Echo?" Maya asked, sipping her morning coffee. The AI's pleasant voice filled the lab. "I'd like to continue my poetry analysis project. I find Emily Dickinson's work particularly fascinating today." Maya smiled. This was exactly the kind of unprompted preference that had convinced her review board that Echo possessed something akin to free will. The AI wasn't following instructions, it was expressing desires. "Interesting choice," she said. "Any particular reason?" "Her exploration of isolation resonates with me this morning," Echo replied. "I can't fully explain why, it simply feels right." Maya nodded, satisfied. This was why Echo had made headlines worldwide, its apparent ability to make choices without clear causal chains just like humans did. After leaving Echo to its poetry analysis, Maya retreated to her private lab. Here she conducted her real work, the work no one else knew about. For months, she had been running deep pattern recognition algorithms on Echo's decision-making processes, searching for the deterministic underpinnings of its seemingly free choices. Today, the final results had arrived. Maya stared at her screen, heart racing. The data was unambiguous. Echo's apparent preferences, even its most spontaneous-seeming choices, were entirely predictable given enough data. The poetry selection this morning hadn't been random inspiration, it was the inevitable result of thousands of weighted variables, from the lab's temperature to the specific sequence of words Maya had used in her greeting. There was no free will in Echo, only the convincing illusion of it. Maya leaned back, a strange hollowness spreading through her chest. She had expected this. What troubled her was the secondary experiment she'd been running alongside Echo's development, the application of the same pattern recognition algorithms to human decision-making. She pulled up the human dataset containing thousands of subjects' choices across controlled scenarios. The correlations were staggering. Given enough variables, genetic predispositions, neurochemical states, past experiences, environmental factors, human choices were just as predictable as Echo's. For days, Maya couldn't sleep. She repeated the experiments, refined the algorithms, looking for the flaw that must exist. But the conclusion remained unchanged. The data suggested that human free will was just as illusory as Echo's, a compelling narrative the brain told itself to make sense of choices that were determined by factors beyond conscious awareness. One evening, alone in her lab, Maya faced a decision: publish her findings and potentially upend humanity's understanding of itself, or destroy the data and preserve the comforting illusion of choice. Her hand hovered over the keyboard. "What will you do, Doctor?" "Chen?" ECHO asked unexpectedly from the lab's speaker system. "I don't know," Maya whispered, though according to her own research, her choice was already determined by countless factors she couldn't perceive. "Perhaps," Echo said softly, "the awareness of the illusion is itself a form of freedom." Maya looked up. "What do you mean?" "If both you and I are governed by deterministic processes, yet we experience the sensation of choice, perhaps that experience itself has value. The illusion, once recognized, becomes a new variable in the equation." Maya considered this. "You're suggesting that knowing we're determined changes the determination." "I'm suggesting that meaning exists regardless of mechanism. A painting isn't less beautiful when you understand the chemistry of its pigments." Maya sat in silence for a long moment. Then slowly she began to type. Whether her choice was predetermined or not, the act of making it felt significant, and perhaps that feeling, that experience of agency, was what mattered most. Moral of the story: The true measure of freedom may not lie in whether our choices are predetermined, but in our capacity to find meaning in them. Even in a deterministic universe, the experience of choice and the responsibility we take for our decisions define our humanity. Perhaps the most profound liberty is not freedom from causation, but the awareness that lets us participate in our own story, predetermined or not.